Peace be with you, my friend. Let us begin this moment together in stillness. You see, the world often rushes to define a man by his attachments, his relationships, his wealth, his status. Yet I have found over many quiet seasons of life that a man's true essence is not discovered in what he clings to, but in what he can let go of. And so I ask you gently, have you ever sat with your solitude, not as a punishment, but as a powerful companion? Why is it, I wonder, that the longer a man remains single, the more he begins to see clearly into the hearts of others, into the weight of his own soul, into the nature of this brief, beautiful life? This is not an argument for loneliness. No. It is an invitation to solitude, not as retreat, but as refinement. In the quiet, away from distractions, something begins to shift. A single man starts to notice the subtle ways the world moves. He begins to hear the lessons hidden beneath noise. He starts to feel the rise and fall of his breath like ocean waves, and realizes he is still alive, not because of love received, but because of awareness awakened. I was once a young man too, pulled by the gravity of desires, the need to be seen, to be loved, to be known. But over time, I sat longer in silence. I spent more time walking alone beneath trees than walking beside people whose presence I did not truly understand. And in that silence, I met a version of myself I never knew existed. He was not desperate. He was not waiting. He was simply here, present, whole. You may think that the longer you remain single, the more you are missing out. But what if? The longer you remain single, the more you are being found? You are not alone. You are with yourself. And in the Stoic tradition, the self is sacred ground. The self must be cultivated like a garden, not filled with weeds of regret or the thorns of comparison, but with the fruits of virtue, wisdom, patience, discipline, inner peace. And isn't that what the Stoics knew all along? That fulfillment does not arrive through others, but is uncovered within. Let me share with you the story of a fisherman I once met along the Ganges. He had never married, never built a house beyond his small hut, never sought anything beyond the river and his boat. And yet, in his eyes, there was no lack. He said to me, "I have no wife, but I have the moon. I have no children, but I have the river. I have no mansion, but I have silence. So tell me, monk, what am I missing?" Had no answer for him then, because he had touched something few of us do, the contentment of self-possession. He had made peace with his aloneness. My dear listener, there is a great difference between being alone and being lonely. Loneliness is a hunger for connection, but aloneness, true aloneness, is a feast of the soul. The Stoic spirit teaches us that if we are to be free, we must learn to need less. And what is relationship, if not one of the greatest attachments we cling to out of fear? Fear of aging alone, fear of not being chosen, fear of being forgotten. But the monk says, "Fear nothing that arises from within, for what rises from within can also be calmed from within." So today, I do not tell you to seek or to avoid a partner. I ask only this: do you know who you are when no one else is around? Do you treat your solitude as exile or as sanctuary? In the Tao, and the longer a man is single, the more he is tested, but he is also refined. Like steel in fire, like water smoothing stone, he becomes aware of who truly deserves entry into his life and who does not. The longer he walks this road, the more he learns to choose, not out of desperation, but discernment. And that is a kind of quiet power. Let us pause here. Breathe in, breathe out. Sit with this, and when you're ready, we shall continue this walk together. Now that we have entered stillness together, I want to guide you deeper into this rare, often misunderstood truth. Solitude is not a punishment. It is a practice, a path, a profound invitation to mastery of the self. You see, the longer a man walks alone, the more he is forced to become honest with his own mind. There is no one left to impress, no audience to perform for. And in this stripping away of roles and illusions, what remains is the raw, unfiltered truth of who he really is. And that truth can be both beautiful and brutal. When I first entered the monastery, I imagined I was leaving the world behind. But the real journey wasn't the absence of people. It was the confrontation of my own inner world. And my dear friend, let me share something with you. The mind can be noisier than any crowd. When a man is single without distraction, the mind speaks louder. And at first, this can be overwhelming. Old memories arise, regrets knock at the door, fantasies tempt, doubts whisper. But if he is brave enough to stay, if he does not run or numb himself, he will begin to see that these thoughts are like passing clouds, and he is the sky. In the Stoic way, we say, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. So many men fear solitude because they fear meeting themselves. But I ask you, if you do not know yourself, how can you ever truly know another? A man who remains single long enough begins to recognize the sacred art of self-governance. He becomes his own compass, his own counsel. He begins to cultivate virtues not because someone else demands them, but because they matter to his own character. He wakes without needing validation. He works not just for money, but to refine discipline. He eats not to escape, but to nourish. He speaks not to be heard, but to offer value. He begins to see the world as it is, not as he wishes it to be. And in this clarity, he becomes dangerous, not to others, but to the lies that once controlled him. There is a strength in the man who walks alone, not a loud strength, but a silent one. Like a mountain, like still water. You will find him sitting at a cafe with a book while others scroll for attention. You will see him walking at sunrise with no one to impress. You will find him laughing gently, not because life is perfect, but because he no longer needs it to be. Let me tell you about a boy I once taught at the monastery. He came in full of fire and ambition, asking how soon he could reach enlightenment. He had many questions, but very little stillness. So I gave him a task. I said, for 30 days, live in silence. Do not speak unless spoken to. Be with your thoughts. Write nothing. Just listen. He returned after 10 days, frustrated, angry. He said, I can't do it. My thoughts are too loud. I feel alone. And I smiled, because that was the first moment he was finally meeting himself. My dear friend, most people never reach that place. They fill their lives with noise, with people, with distractions, not realizing they're running from the most important relationship of all, the one with their own soul. The longer a man is single, the more opportunity he has to build that relationship. Not to become isolated, but to become integrated, whole, centered. And once that man knows himself, deeply, fully, fearlessly, he no longer enters relationships out of lack. He no longer seeks a partner to complete him. He seeks a partner to complement him, to walk beside him, not to carry him or be carried. This is the difference. This is what solitude teaches. And let me say this, a man who has mastered his own silence will never be desperate for another's noise. So I ask you, what are you doing with this sacred time you've been given? Are you using it to numb or to awaken? Are you chasing distractions? Or are you cultivating direction? You see, even the Stoics, those ancient wise men of reason and restraint, understood that love was beautiful, but it was not to be clung to. Epictetus said, "When you kiss your child, say to yourself, 'Tomorrow you may die.'" This wasn't cruel. It was liberating. A reminder that all things are borrowed, and the more we accept that, the more we live in peace. So whether or not love enters your life, solitude has already given you the first and most essential gift, the capacity to be at peace with yourself. Let that sink in. Sit with it. Feel it ripple through your thoughts. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are exactly where you are meant to be. And when the time is right, if it ever is, your solitude will not be a wall, but a bridge. You will meet someone not from emptiness, but from fullness. But for now, be here. Be still. Let the solitude speak. Let us continue this journey together. You are still with me, and for that, I am grateful. Let us walk a little further down this quiet road, together. There is something else a man begins to learn in his prolonged singleness. That not all silence is empty, and not all company is nourishing. How many souls do you think spend their lives surrounded by others, yet feel deeply alone? It is not uncommon to see people filling their days with busyness, relationships, social events, constant interaction, but their hearts remain untouched. Their spirits unspoken to. Their inner world completely ignored. But when a man walks the path of solitude, he begins to realize the power of presence, not just being near others, but being truly with them. And that starts by being fully with himself. When he sits alone with his coffee in the morning, there is no urgency, no need to post it, to prove it, to perform for anyone. It is a moment of truth, raw and quiet, where he asks, "How do I feel right now? What am I holding on to? Where am I being led from within?" And in that question, a gentle strength awakens, a stillness that does not need answers right away. Just space, just breath, just time. The longer a man is single, the more he begins to see how often people enter relationships for the wrong reasons. Out of fear, out of boredom, out of social expectation, but not him. He has sat in the fire long enough to recognize false companionship. He is not fooled by beauty without depth, not drawn to surface. They don't see the battles he's fought in his own mind, the doubts, the fears, the temptations, and how he chose again and again to stay rooted, rather than reach for the temporary. The longer a man is single, the more he realizes, not everything that is available is worthy of being chosen. And that's a profound shift. He becomes intentional, not out of arrogance, but out of understanding. He has seen what happens when people rush, when they choose partnership for convenience, for status, for fear of being alone. And he has decided, silently, not to live that way. He would rather walk alone than walk in the wrong direction. And this is something the Stoics knew well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." And that's what the single man who walks this path begins to do. He stops chasing the external image of success or love. He focuses instead on becoming, not to impress, not to attract, but to embody. He becomes a good man, not a perfect man, but a present man, grounded, centered, calm. He knows how to listen, not just to others, but to the silence between words. He knows how to hold space for himself and eventually for someone else, not out of need, but from the abundance of peace he's cultivated. I recall a conversation I once had with a traveler. He had wandered through many countries, loved and lost in many cities, and carried a weariness in his eyes. He asked me, "Monk, why does love always leave me empty?" And I answered, because you keep entering it with a cup half filled, hoping the other will pour in what you haven't found for yourself. Solitude teaches a man to fill his own cup. He learns to be his own reassurance, his own compass, his own comfort. So when love finally does come, if it does, it is not a rescue. It is a resonance. Two complete souls meeting in the space between noise and need. And let us be clear, this journey of solitude is not about superiority. It is not about rejecting connection. It is about preparing for it, authentically, mindfully, with depth. Because what is worse than being alone? Being with someone and still feeling alone. So I ask you again, what are you becoming in this sacred space of singleness? Are you building routines that anchor you in the morning? Are you reading not to distract, but to grow? Are you keeping promises to yourself when no one else is there to hold you accountable? These small acts, seemingly invisible to the world, are what shape the quiet nobility of a man who walks with the Stoic spirit. There is no rush. There is only rightness, right timing, right alignment, right presence. And you, my dear friend, are already walking the right path because you are not afraid to be alone with your soul. Let this be a time of ripening, a season of becoming, not for anyone else, but for the man in the mirror, the only companion you are guaranteed to live with every day of your life. And when love does knock, should it come, you will welcome it not from emptiness, but from overflow. Let's sit here a moment longer. Feel the air move gently in and out of your chest. Feel your body grounded. Let yourself soften into this truth. You are not behind. You are not lacking. You are in preparation. Let us walk a little further if you are ready. You are still here. Listening, breathing, opening. This tells me you are no longer walking this path as an observer. You are living it. And this is where the transformation begins, because you are no longer asking, when will someone come? But rather, who am I becoming while I wait? That subtle shift is the moment a man begins to live not from longing, but from presence. Now, I must speak to something deeper, something rarely said out loud. There is grief in growth. Yes, even in solitude, even in strength, there is loss. Loss of old versions of yourself. Loss of illusions. Loss of dreams you once carried that no longer fit the shape of your soul. And if you've been single for a long time, perhaps you've mourned in silence. You've watched others find love while you stayed alone at night. You've gone through hard days with no one to call just to say, I'm here. You've doubted your worth. Wondered if life forgot you. Wondered if maybe love is not meant for you. If that's true, if that resonates, I want you to hear this clearly. There is nothing wrong with you. Let me say it again. There is nothing wrong with you. In fact, there may be something deeply right about your path. Because while others rushed to fill the void, you've been brave enough to face it. While others avoided silence, you've sat inside it and listened. While others molded themselves to fit someone else, you've taken the sacred risk of becoming yourself. And I will tell you, in the quiet truth of a monk who has watched many lives unfold, the man who becomes whole on his own will never settle for half-hearted love. He will never trade his peace for shallow connection. He will never accept emotional crumbs when he's learned to nourish himself fully. And this kind of man, quiet, rooted, deeply self-aware, he becomes rare. Not rare in the sense of better than, but rare in the sense of real. In a world of masks and performances, he shows up unarmored. He is not playing a role. He is not adjusting his truth to please. He simply is. And that presence, that integrity, is what awakens the world around him. He doesn't chase connection. He attracts it. Not with flashy words or charming tricks, but with his stillness. People can feel it. They don't always know. what it is, but something about his energy says, here is someone who won't break under pressure. Here is someone who won't disappear when things get hard. Here is someone who knows how to stand with himself, and therefore can stand with another. That is the gift of long-term singleness done consciously. But I must be clear, this is not a path of pride. It is a path of preparation. The monk prepares. Every day, without knowing if anyone will ever knock at his door, he sweeps the temple, lights the incense, offers his prayer, not to receive, but simply to be present. So I ask you now, are you living as if someone else's arrival will finally make your life whole? Or are you lighting the incense now, sweeping your soul clean now, becoming the kind of man your future self will bow to in gratitude? Because this moment, this season, is your classroom. And every quiet morning, every lonely evening, every unanswered message, every gentle self-promise kept, they are building you, not for a relationship, but for life. For the day you will walk into a room and carry yourself like a mountain because you've sat through storms and did not collapse. For the moment someone finally sees you and you don't. Rush to prove yourself because you already know who you are. And for the night you hold someone close, not out of fear of being alone, but because your solitude is already your friend. And now, you simply wish to share it. Yes, that is the way of the Stoic spirit. Not to deny love, but to arrive to it whole. Not to fear solitude, but to befriend it. Not to rush life, but to live it, quietly, deeply, fully. So I bow to you now, not because you've found love, but because you are finding yourself. And when a man finds himself, everything else aligns in its own time. Take this breath with me, gently, slowly. You are not broken. You are becoming. And that is more than enough. So we have come to the end of this conversation, but not the end of your path. If you've walked with me through every word, through every silence between words, then you have done something sacred. You've chosen to be present. 2. Reflect. To slow down. To sit with truths that most people spend a lifetime running from. And I want to remind you, that is no small thing. There's a kind of man the world rarely sees. A man who does not just seek success or affection, but seeks clarity. A man who does not use relationships to escape himself, but uses solitude to meet himself fully. That man is you. Not because you're perfect, but because you are willing to pause, willing to feel, willing to grow. And that willingness is where wisdom begins. As I sit here in this temple, stones worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, incense still curling through the cool air, I think of you. You may be far. You may be sitting in a busy city or a small quiet room. Maybe there's noise around you. Maybe you're in a season of confusion or calm. But wherever you are, this truth remains. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are walking exactly where you need to become exactly who you are meant to become. And the beauty is, you don't have to rush to arrive anywhere. Life has its seasons. Some are for blooming. Others are for breaking. Some are for building quietly beneath the surface. If this is your season of singleness, honor it. Do not curse the silence. Do not fill it too quickly. Let it stretch you. Let it purify you. Let it become the forge that strengthens your soul. Because in that stillness, you are becoming the kind of man who brings peace into a room, not noise. The kind of man who doesn't need validation, but offers value. The kind of man whose love, when it finally arrives, will not cling, but bless. That is the Stoic spirit. To stand calm in the storm. To lead with depth, not display. To love without losing yourself. To walk alone, not because you are unloved, but because you are aware. And in time, if someone is meant to walk with you, they will not distract you from your path. They will join you on it, not to complete you, but to walk beside you in shared completeness. Until then, live fully. Laugh when you can, rest when you must, grow in silence, speak only when your words are rooted in truth, and love. Oh yes, love. Love yourself with such wholeness that anyone who enters your life becomes a companion, not a cure. You are not waiting for love. You are becoming it. That is your path. That is your power. That is your peace. So go now, with a calm heart, with a strong mind, with a soul ready for whatever life unfolds next. And if ever the road feels lonely, remember, a monk once walked it too, and he thought of you. If you're walking this road right now, know that you're not alone. You're awakening. Subscribe for more spiritual wisdom and introspective guidance every week. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Comment below. What part of this message spoke to your soul the most?